SmackDown review, this live stream that we're going to be doing. We're going to talk about Friday Night SmackDown. Yeah. Hey, what the hell? Hold on a second. Just want to make sure that this is working so y'all can hear my commentary. Okay, here we go. It said I'm live, so I guess I can talk about SmackDown. This is Jacob Cass 2024. Gonna do my WWE SmackDown review live stream. This is May 15, 2026. We're gonna talk about SmackDown. We'll talk about the news and rumors of WWE and AEW. Now, maybe we'll talk a little bit about NXT. Then we'll talk about what happened on the show tonight. We'll talk about what's on the show next week. This video was sponsored by my favorite podcasters and YouTubers like Fight for Pro Wrestling, Solomon the Sound Off, JD from New York, Joe Cronin, and other podcasters that I know of. I think I'll make this live stream about like an hour or 5 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes maybe. I don't make it too long because SmackDown still sucks. It's still awful, kind of a boring show. Nothing much happened on this show. SmackDown getting hard to watch, just like Raw. Okay. Gunther's Nightmare. Will he keep steps up? Will SmackDown be a nightmare for Gunther? As for the NBA playoff, Pistons forced a Game 7 after dominating second half against the Cavs. Alright, now let's talk about what happened on SmackDown tonight. There's NXT, that was on Tuesday. Mason, Mook, Darkgate, Knox, Zarya, Watts, Alan, Nikki. Not much happened on NXT. There's Monday Night Raw. And what we saw on SmackDown, the show opened up with Trick Williams. The Miz crashed Trick Williams' celebration. We saw Trick's parents out there and his friends. If Trick Williams is over, I'm pretty sure Trick is a babyface. I think where he getting babyface reaction, he's not really getting heel thing because he gets interrupted by the Miz and Kit Wilson. So clearly, I think Trick Williams is a babyface because he's gonna probably feud with the Miz and Kit Wilson, who are heels. So I think they're gonna be heels for quite a while. I think Sami Zayn might want to turn heel because he's getting booed a little bit. So Trick Williams is the babyface. Fan wants to see Trick. He's over. He's beloved. He has a great entrance. Fan love chanting with that Trick. Sami Zayn getting booed. So he might turn boo lately. I think, well, he's been babyface for a while now, for like maybe 3.5 years. So they think it's time to change his character and keep Trick as a babyface. Now, anyway, like I said, the show opened up with Trick Williams and Lil Yachty. They were interrupted by The Miz. So Trick Williams earns a big win, a big hometown win against The Miz. He beat The Miz tonight, and I thought it was a very, very good match. Alright. Yeah, so that was the opener. Trick had a great entrance when he came out we do have Brie Bella and Nick and Paige versus Julia and Katana Chance. I think Paige and Brie retains here, and then I think they were, I think they won this match. And then the other thing was we had Gunther and Cody Rhodes in the contract signing. Then Royce Key comes out. He wants to sign a contract. And Nick Aldis made a match in the main event between Gunther and Royce Keys. Where pretty good match. That I'm glad to put in Royce Key and giving him some opportunities. We also got Ricky Sainz and Carmelo Hayes. Now I know Ricky Sainz is not on this game, so I gotta use Carmelo Hayes and someone else. And a pretty good match. Ricky Sainz and Carmelo Hayes were very good. Danhausen backstage, he cuts up his own, whatever that is. Damian Priest versus Tamatanga. Yeah, so Damian Priest, and it wasn't a match, okay man. Damian Priest defeated Tonga. And then we had the woman, I think we had a tag team with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. They came out, they interrupted Jade, Mia, and B-Fam. So I think we had a tag team match here with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte versus Mia Yim, and B-Fam. Yeah. What else was on the show? I don't see notes on the show. Then the main event with Royce Key. Obviously, Royce Key not on here, so I gotta use someone else. I don't know why am I using Obafemi. Gotta use him, even though Royce Key is not on the game, but I use someone. So, yeah. Yeah, so, alright, so, we're getting to some of the podcasters here now.
At Citizens Private Bank, we believe your attention is best spent on your passion.
Aura is just absolutely off the chart. He was interrupted by Miz and Kit Wilson. Trick, your whole career is starting to look like rejected mascots from my daughter's birthday party. Is this W?
Pick a lane if you want to cheat, stand 10 toes down. It's not a good tweener. I will jump.
The live stream is about to. Teddy Long. NoDQ.com. If it's not on NoDQ, was able to pin Kiana with the Rampage DDT. Match was fine, pretty basic. Gunther versus Royce Keys title opportunity match. Winner faces Cody Rhodes at Clash in Italy. I do agree with Jerry
back in the ring. I guess Charlotte and Alexa show back to 2 hours. That
Out at that point. Definitely the way to start it. I love Kit Wilson. Let's get him on TV any which way we can. So great. Positive. Potentially. But I don't know. Fuck, I don't know his situation. Not really sure. Wow. That's crazy.
Love you guys. Bye.
Another insufferable week, and they aren't even trying. You're right, they aren't even trying. Smackdown still sucked. After last week's embarrassment. Now, next week is the go home show for Senate main event, because we do get Senate main event. Now, they did advertise the match. They also advertised Tonga Loa versus Nakamura next week on SmackDown. They did advertise the matches for Senate main event. I think we have 3 matches. We have Penta versus Ethan Page for the Intercontinental Championship. And then we have The Vision, Theory, and Logan Paul versus wait, who are they versus again? The Street Profits for the World Tag Team titles. That's on the Raw side. That'll be on Sunday main event. And then the third match, we got Charlotte, Rhea, and Alexa versus Jay Cardo, Fashion, B-Fab, and Michin, Miriam. That'll be on Sunday main event. And then 2 weeks later is the match for Class in Italy. Oh yeah, we gotta wait for that. Okay. Now these are the news and rumors that I don't think I already showed. I want to show you some of the news and rumors. This one is called "Is Asuka Retiring from WWE?"
Are you Marsha?
I am. I mean,
You know,
Or was he asked to take a TKO pay cut?
when you want to talk about the greatest of all time, championship title runs, whether it's the women's shit, ever radio following Backlash revealing what he had heard, but acknowledging he does not have full clarity on what semi-retired means when describing Asuka's situation. Now, they use the term semi-retired. He says, and I quote, "So, the story I heard is that she is semi-retired. I haven't really gotten an exact meaning of what semi-retired means, but I guess people were wishing her goodbye and things like that backstage, as if he was there." I don't know why he goes on to say those things. I mean, that's a little too specific. Are you sure that people were wishing her and saying goodbye backstage? So I don't know if that means she's going to Japan or if she's going to continue to wrestle. I don't know if that means she's going to still do stuff here and there, but I was told semi-retired. Brian Alvarez then offered his reaction to this news by saying, "That sucks. I'm going to miss Asuka." I mean, if you're going to go out there and say, "I'm going to miss Asuka," then you know something that we don't. Or you're just clickbaiting the shit out of your listeners. "I'm going to miss Asuka" indicates that she's going away, that she's not coming back. Later in the show, Meltzer and Alvarez raised the possibility that Asuka could have been a part of the recent WWE roster cuts, though neither man could confirm it. I wonder if she was with the other people that were cut. I mean, I don't know, says Dave Meltzer. I can't fathom that, but I guess it's possible. But I mean, Kyrie was cut, and she didn't even get used to the end of this thing, Alvarez said. Big E openly questioned on the WWE Backlash post-show at the end of Backlash Saturday night That Saturday night marked the end of Asuka's WWE career, possibly after the Empress of Tomorrow was visibly emotional following her match and shared a tearful embrace with Io in front of the Tampa crowd. Big E, on the Backlash post-show, was asked if this was goodbye for Asuka. He said, if it was indeed her final moment, she would be dearly missed. Now, the Backlash match itself ended with a notable moment as Asuka, who was a heel, embraced Io, who was a babyface, after months of feuding between the two, providing a touching conclusion to the program that had lost its intended payoff in Kairi Sane after she was released. Now, Asuka is 44 years old. She's been with the WWE since summer of 2015. During her 11-year tenure in WWE, she became a 4-time main roster women's champion, one-time NXT women's champion at 510 days, a 5-time women's tag team champion, won the 2018 Royal Rumble, and the 2020 Women's Money in the Bank. Quite the career. I would say it's a Hall of Fame career. Now, Fightful has some more information on what this means. Semi-retired, was a send-off. One thing that was firm was that everyone that Fightful spoke to does not believe Asuka had her final match. The situation appeared to be a mystery to the locker room and to a number of people around the creative process who weren't sure if this was actually a goodbye. Another unanimous response was that her popularity amongst the locker room and staff, who spoke highly of working with her and her general performance. One WWE higher-up said that Asuka's performance over the last year specifically was always reliable no matter what was thrown her way. And WWE was said to be very happy with Asuka. Regarding the contract status, Asuka signed a new long-term deal with WWE in the summer of 2024. We aren't sure how long that deal went, but most deals were for 5 years at that point. Sounds very similar to the New Day situation where they signed 5-year deals for a decent amount of money. They weren't really being used. And when the budget cuts came from above, from Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro and the rest of TKO asking Nick Khan and Triple H to shed millions in budget, they asked the New Day if they wanted to take a pay cut because they didn't want to get rid of the New Day because of the tenure that the New Day had in the WWE. They offered the pay cut. New Day said, no, we're not going to take this pay cut. They opted to walk. Now they're straddled with a 90-day non-compete, and they can show up wherever they want after 90 days or so. Asuka has done the same thing, according to Fightful. Signed a new long-term deal in the summer of 2024. I'm assuming they pay her pretty well. Just throwing that out there. We'll cycle back to that in a second. Though many in the locker room weren't sure of what the gestures following Asuka's match went, there were some farewells being said in both in person and on social media. A number of the sources that Fightful spoke to also indicated that a lot of frustration centered around Kairi's release, but didn't communicate if Asuka herself had expressed those frustrations. I'm sure she did, and I'm sure she did to several people. Specific points of frustration emanated from the television time given to Asuka and Kairi without actually paying off Kairi's part of the story. Asuka is 44 years old.
I told you were getting justice.
Just by her
Let
age,
the parasite rot in hell because you're not
I'm
getting justice.
assuming WWE looked at Asuka and thought maybe cutting her loose. WWE certainly has an age problem, especially when it comes to the females. We don't know
And
anything.
anyone didn't think Miss Thompson was
We don't know a fucking
a
thing.
slap in the face to his family.
Everything that is being said,
on law
including what I'm
enforcement.
saying
No
here and will
murders,
say,
every
is
justice
all
are not one.
speculation.
There is no vigilante.
If Asuka signed a new 5-year deal in the summer of 2024, I'm going to assume that WWE paid her pretty well to stay. WWE doesn't want someone like Asuka going to AEW and showing up for the competition.
The judge said
So I'm
it's not
assuming
terrorism,
they
just a cowboy.
paid Asuka very well, as they did the New Day. Was there frustration with Kairi being released? Absolutely. Were there tears at the end of that match on Saturday night because Kairi wasn't there, and that was supposed to be the conclusion
with Kyrie. We got the match. We didn't get Kyrie. They wrestled their ass off for 20 minutes. WWE gave them as much time as they needed. Were they emotional because they delivered the match that everybody expected them to? Were they payoff with Kyrie that
Well, they'll
wasn't
charge you
there?
for
Was
driving
there
different terrorism.
emotions
Well, it makes the penalty much
because
less
of the
now for a
situation?
second-degree murder.
Absolutely.
Train,
Teach your student
this is a straight-up murder
lifelong
case where you
friends.
kill somebody on the street. It's
all
not
there.
terrorism. Why do you know the DA like to
If Oscar
overcharge and
wanted to
overread
step
in a
away
lot of their cases?
and kind of recalibrate.
And
And
punch
for
you in the
WWE, I don't know if it's intentionally
Hey,
messed up the work
down
that she did every single week on television, work that they asked her to do. Got rid of her friend who was a centerpiece of the storyline. If Oscar felt like she wasted her time and everything that we did was for nothing and was upset about it and wanted to take some time away to recalibrate, I think Oscar is very deserving of that time away because WWE brought this upon her when she never asked for it. She has every right to want to take a little bit of a break.
I don't find
You
anything.
gotta be.
No mosquitoes.
Waste of 3 hours. Did anything happen on this show tonight that got you excited about anything? No? I'm trying to find something that at least tickles me going into Clash in Italy. No, but you could pay $12,000 to go take a pasta class with Danhausen. At least Tony Khan and Dynamite have some company for the worst show of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try and talk about what happened tonight. We're going to the venue. I may need 2 extra cherries in my old fashioned.
And Jericho is on social media doesn't
We're
really
going
take
to the venue
attention.
inside
So
my
I agree
mother's
with John.
basement
All murder
in my
causes something of fear
actual
and the possibility of
car.
certain things. Because the murder happened first, the outpour second was
And when I
unpredictable.
get there
I don't
on
get
this
it that
Friday
way. It's
night,
not
I
in
want
the
to
truth.
know,
That is
what
not how
the
terrorism
fuck
works.
are you guys
But that
drinking?
was Eastern addressing. He never apologized to internet. He didn't try to send a
Unfortunately,
wire and
I'll
make
see
that
you over
move
there.
a population. The population is already moved. Once the victim of not being once the victim of not being killed. Once the victim of not being killed. People already glorified this and celebrated and hailed the two as a hero. So all murder causes some bit of fear and the popularity of certain things. It's not terrorism, it's a cold-blooded killing. It makes the case much more easier than it's just a straight murder. So I just figured on 219 murder, not knowing all these details and why he did it and what was the motivation. Because you try for terrorism, now you're going to talk about all the things about healthcare and denials and people deny their economy and why.
Spoilers here. But I will say it is the best movie I have seen in the theater so far this year. It is. It's the best movie I've seen all year. Very much enjoyed it. I will say it's a fucked up movie. It will fuck with your head. I can't say it was necessarily what I was expecting, but again, I went into it pretty cold. I just feel like these days they give away too much in the trailers anyway. So I try to avoid all that as much as possible. But if you are thinking about it, or if you are a fan of that genre, I would highly encourage you to go see it. It just came out, well, technically yesterday, but it just came out tonight. I hope it does well. It's funny, you know, we have this movie called Passenger that's coming out next week, another horror movie. And then 2 weeks from tonight, The Backrooms, which I'm very excited about because I followed all of the Kane Pixels videos on YouTube years ago, and now
Kane is directing a full-fledged Backrooms movie with the backing of A24, major movie studio. And that's coming out in 2 weeks, so this is a hell of a month, I will say, for the horror genre. Speaking of horror, Smackdown. I guess we have to talk about this show. Not good. Not good. Very boring, but not without its moments. So, for example, we had a main event tonight that pit Gunther against Royce Keys, and I thought the two of them went out there and had a solid-ass main event. Just like Stone Cold has two solid-ass cats on the Broken Skull Ranch, we got a solid-ass main event tonight. First time that Royce Keys has been in the SmackDown main event since he debuted on the main roster. And when the match was over, we found out that Gunther is going to Italy because this was to find out who would be challenging Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship at the end of the month at Clash in Italy. Because Gunther has been playing games over the last couple of weeks. He had a contract to sign with his name on it. He kept playing games. As Nick Aldis said, he overplayed his hand. And so now he was forced to fight somebody else for the right to become #1 contender for the title. So he had to go through Royce Keys. And he did. And so now we know one of the main events for Clash in Italy that is now official. But I have to ask you all a question. And I admit that in the grand scheme of things, considering all the problems that this show has, this is a minor issue. But it still bugs me. And I heard Joe Tessitore say this when the show was over. Cody Rhodes was the last one standing. He came out, he gave Gunther a crossroads, and so Cody was the parting shot on SmackDown tonight. And I have to listen to Joe Tessitore, as the announcers every week say, the undisputed WWE champion. Cody Rhodes is the undisputed champion. Now let me ask you a question. At a time when we have 2 world championships on the men's side, and at a time where Roman Reigns is the World Heavyweight Champion and arguably is the #1 champion in the company now. It certainly has felt that way since WrestleMania. And it will likely be that way going into Clash in Italy, where he's going to be wrestling Jacob Fatu, I'm sure. So how is it that we are still calling Cody Rhodes the undisputed WWE champion? What exactly makes him an undisputed champion? See, I don't think that they care enough to realize that they have continued to call this man undisputed long after it made sense to do so, long after he beat Roman Reigns, right, who had those 2 titles. And so sure, the man who beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania is the undisputed champion. But we have a World Heavyweight Champion on Monday who happens to be the biggest star in the company outside of Cody. And we have the WWE Champion on Friday. And why are we still calling him the undisputed champion? It's so stupid.
He's not.
Just stop. There's nothing undisputed about it. It's very much disputed now. We actually have somebody on Raw who arguably is the top champion in the company. It bugs me. I don't know why we're still calling him undisputed. Carmelo Hayes is back. This was another bright spot on the show. We haven't seen him since before WrestleMania. He was back on the show tonight wrestling Ricky Saints. And they also had what I thought was a solid match, so that was good. And we had Trick Williams. He had a nice homecoming for himself here in the opening segment of the show. The rest of these 3 hours were some of the most boring television that I have had to sit through this entire year. And this show continues to limp along. It's going to limp right into the summer, the way that it has, with no end in sight. The best we can hope for is an hour less of this at some point next month, because we still don't know the exact week that SmackDown is reverting back to 2 hours. Last year it happened on the 4th of July. I've read reports that suggest it might happen sooner than that. We probably have another month at least of this. It can't come soon enough. And that's not going to make the show better, but at least it's an hour less that we are subjected to every single week. Because the shows don't get any better. You find those bright spots, right? Royce Keys in the main event, good for him. Hopefully we get to see a more sustained push for him. Ricky Saints, still not getting much of a reaction when he comes out, but he's still new to the roster. He's out there wrestling Carmelo Hayes. Those are the types of matches I'd like to see more of here on these shows. But again, outside of that stuff, what else is going on right now on this show that you can honestly tell me is exciting to you, is compelling to you, is keeping you tuned in every week where it's like, man, I can't wait to see this guy, or I can't wait to see this story play out, or I can't wait to see this group. I can't wait to see the MFTs next week. I can't wait to see Jade and the Baddies next week. Like, what is it about this show? Honestly, truthfully, outside of like those one or two things that I mentioned, that truly keeps you coming back for more? There's nothing. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. I'm convinced that The Rock couldn't get Cody souls, that he stole SmackDown. Because this show has no soul. It's just limping along. That is the state of SmackDown. And so it continues. This is your Friday Night SmackDown review. It is May 15th. We're already midway through 2026. I am the Solo Monster. Hey James, you better be referring to me. He says Solo is awesome. Because if I find out you're talking about Solo Sikoa, I'm gonna kick you out. There ain't nothing about Solo Sikoa. Talking about SmackDown is it's almost as bad as watching SmackDown, but I try to make it entertaining for you guys, so we'll try to do the same tonight. Do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We are going to spin the wheel here in a moment to find out how many likes we need to do our Be the Booker segment, and Super Chats are open as well.
So instead of moving on to Randy and Cody from New York, as always, their program is, and laughing while I rant about it, or they're genuinely throwing it in their fans' face, knowing that the show sucks, revealing the truth within. The Miz says that SmackDown has become more like Sesame Street. What's next? Is Big Bird gonna show up on the show? Bro, what are you trying to tell me about SmackDown? Or WWE as a whole in general? Big Bird might actually add some character and charisma to this fucking show if they wanted to book him on this. They're basically throwing it in your face, telling you the show sucks, and they're mocking you while laughing about it. It's exactly what that promo, or the point in that promo that The Miz spoke today to Trick Williams, that's what that set out to accomplish. Yes, they are breaking the fourth wall. Yes. Telling you exactly how they feel about their own program, telling you exactly what their program is without actually saying it themselves. That was basically a shoot by The Miz. You would think that after the funeral they would get better, but they largely did nothing of importance tonight, and the show continues on a downward spiral, going into Clash in Italy, which, by the way, I am not excited about whatsoever. There's nothing about Clash in Italy that even has me remotely excited. I mean, you can fly me to Turn, I'll have a great time away from WWE, but the product itself being in Turn, I don't know how anybody could validate spending those ticket prices and sitting there to watch this fucking awful slop that they've given us.
Maybe old one, they probably did.
SmackDown tonight. The best thing about SmackDown that we got a soft confirmation on is that June 5th, Braun Strowman returns with his Eat Everything show. Strowman Eats Everything. June 5th. That's a Friday. That's legitimately coming up in about 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, SmackDown will be reverting back to 2 hours. Cutting the show by an hour will not save this show from being an abysmal piece of shit. You'd have to fire the whole fucking writing team to save any part of this show whatsoever. SmackDown tonight largely did nothing. The big story, the entertaining story that they had coming into tonight was Gunther, who moved over from Monday Night Raw to Friday Night SmackDown because of a Paul Heyman favor. He wanted to be very far away from Monday Night Raw and wanted to be on Friday night. Now, I don't know if Gunther is that fucking stupid, but maybe they coerced him with some more monies to come on over to Friday night, because I don't know how anybody would realistically, willingly want to be on Smackdown. So the big story was him coming over from Monday Night Raw in recent weeks for a spot on Friday Night SmackDown, and this was the favor that Paul Heyman supposedly owed him. He went to Heyman, he wanted to move to SmackDown. Heyman facilitated this move, and with this move comes a WWE Championship opportunity against Cody Rhodes, because Randy Orton seemingly is out with an injury. So instead of moving on to Randy and Cody without the celebrity involvement, like we deserve, we're getting Cody and Gunther. Now, Gunther has not signed the contract. He has not signed the contract for the WWE Championship opportunity that he asked for. He's waited and waited and waited, and maybe he's contemplating his decision. He realizes that if he signs the dotted line, that he is now giving his life to Friday night. And who, honestly, would want to do that in 2026, seeing how terrible this show is? That's the only logical explanation I have for why he hasn't signed the contract. But he waffled again and did not sign the contract. So someone came out that would. And that someone was Royce Keys, the former Powerhouse Hobbs in AEW. Now I look at this and I'm like, all right, WWE obviously has a lot of investment in Royce Keys. They gave him several minutes of television showing clips of his appearance on the Stephanie McMahon podcast, giving his story and gaining sympathy points from the fan base on how rough of an upbringing he had living in Oakland in California. All that said, he wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which does nothing for anybody's career. Don't let them fool you. And he comes out to basically non-existent reactions. And they gave him a tagline or a gimmick of saying, "I." After everything everybody says, he says, "I." AIGHT. I. That seemingly has not gotten over. As I'm sure you can see why. I get that WWE has a lot of investment in Royce Keys. They want to make him into a big deal. They think putting him in the ring with Cody Rhodes, or at least teasing it, is going to get some brownie points from the fan base. But chat, let's be real. Royce Keys and the experiment of Royce Keys has not gone well. He's mixing it up with Solo Sikoa. He's in these promo packages with Jacob Fatu and the Bloodline. And he's got these interactions with Fatu based on their history, and Solo Sikoa with his history. He's apparently known them up and down the West Coast indie scene for 10 to 15 years, 20 years, whatever it may be. That's not going to get him over in the eyes of this fan base. There's nothing about Royce Keys, as far as how WWE has presented him, that makes me want to say, I'm excited to see Royce Keys. Or I want to see more of Royce Keys. Royce Keys is just another name on a roster of talented men and women that is being spearheaded by a creative team that's fucking clueless. No wonder Royce Keys is not over. Cody's not going to help Royce Keys. Gunther in the main event tonight's not going to help Royce Keys. If there's not a connection with the audience, or if they don't believe you enough to cheer and get behind you, then it's not going to work. WWE seemingly started out trying to automatically jam the sympathy pill down your throat in regards to Royce Keys, instead of letting it build organically. He said this to Stephanie McMahon. He did not say this in front How over do you want Royce Keys to be? How sympathetic do you want the fans to be to Royce Keys when basically the majority of what they've consumed from Royce Keys has been in a fucking vignette or video package highlighting his appearance on a Stephanie McMahon podcast? Which I'm assuming half the audience probably never listened to. Yet you want this fan base to be like, oh man, I feel so bad for Royce Keys, man. I gotta cheer him now. If you don't hear these things from the man himself, and he isn't directly speaking to you, nobody gives a shit. Point blank, period, 100%, fact. You can put him in the ring with fucking Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, and you can do all these extra things to try and get him over. There's nothing about him that the fans really know. There's nothing about him that stands out. There's nothing about him that's exciting, and you want me to buy in because of his story that he spewed to Stephanie McMahon. Not gonna work. So putting Royce Keys in the main event, I could see some of the Fedbots online saying, well, how you gonna get him over on the main roster if he doesn't work with top talent, JD? I would rather see him come out and express himself like a human being and work his way from the bottom to the top. What has he done on this show that warrants a match with Gunther? What has he done on this show in any capacity where he actually deserves to walk down the aisle, grab a pen, and sign a contract for a major PLE main event with Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship? Again, all these things don't really add up, and all these things are not going to get him over in the eyes of the audience. You can put him in there with Gunther. What did it do at the end of the day? You chopped him out to Gunther, who was always going to be the guy to wrestle Cody Rhodes in 3 weeks at Clash of Italy. So you want him to get over, which he didn't. You put him in a position that he didn't deserve, he didn't. And you put him in the main event to lose to Gunther. Strike one, strike two, strike three, you're out. And if someone tells you that this appearance in the main event tonight worked for Royce Keys, I want you to go listen to his reaction next week when he gets the same non-existent reaction because he's feuding with the fucking MFTs. I'd love for someone to tell me when I'm telling any sort of lie here. Bookmark it. Nobody gives a fuck. That's the major story. That's what transpired tonight. Gunther didn't want to sign a contract. Royce Keys wanted to sign the contract undeservedly for the main event of Clash in Italy in Turin. Gunther said, no, I can't wrestle this guy. This is my opportunity. I worked this favor with Paul Heyman. Nick Aldis said, well, you gave that up by not signing the contract. Now you got to work for it. Main event. And he's got to wrestle Royce Keys for the #1 contender. Exhilarating stuff, chat. Exhilarating content from WWE. Elsewhere on this show, we got 2 women's tag team matches. That's all I can say about that. We got a Jade Cargill promo that also got booed out of the building because she fucking sucks. We got Carmelo Hayes back on the show. That's a plus. We love Carmelo Hayes. Trick Williams, we love Trick Williams. He's on the show. Major superstar reaction. He wrestled The Miz in the opening segment. Danhausen was on the show in one segment. I guess they heard the criticisms of too much Danhausen, huh? Danhausen apparently is working on a new sign Smackdown tonight. Another 3 hours of an absolutely boring and insufferable program from good old Triple GPT, Paul Levesque himself. We'll get into it tonight. This is your Smackdown review right here on Off the Script for your May 15th, 2026. Tonight we are sponsored by my great friends over at Hims. Make sure you guys check them out. We'll talk about my friends over at Hims a little bit later on in the show. Hims.com/scripts. If you guys are trying to get back in shape before SummerSlam season, check out Weight Loss by Hims at hims.com/scripts. Personalized plans, fully online, no nonsense. We'll talk about them a little bit later on right here on tonight's show. I want to thank everybody for the support this week. Very good week of content as we round out the week here. We were live on Monday. We had a great stream on Monday for Raw. Another boring show. Tuesday night there was no show. We did Tuesday morning with the coach, but there was no show on Tuesday night. I was at the Alter Bridge concert on Long Island at the Paramount Theater. Excellent show as always. My 10th time watching them live. Unbelievable. Tuesday Night Titans aired last night. So if you guys are wondering where Tuesday Night Titans was, it is on the homepage. Jason and I were live for over 3 hours. We talked about legitimately everything that you needed to know this week. John Cena Classic, the news on Mick Foley and AEW. We broke down the men's and women's Owen Hart brackets that were announced on Dynamite. Whole bunch of shit. We talked Backlash. So go check all that out. If you guys are wondering where Tuesday Night Titans was this week, we were Thursday Night Titans. TNT 146 on the homepage right now. We aired it live last night at 8:30. So go check that out. I should have some content this weekend. Gonna try and do some extra work this weekend for you guys. Get some videos in the sub boxes, just rounding out some of the news. Again, I thank you for a great week. If you want to support, super chats are open. Best way to do that. Best way to do that. Questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, opinions. Let me know what you thought of Smackdown. Everything you want to ask in the super chat. So get them on in. We'll hang out at the end of the show. Also, other ways you can support. Thumbs up. Leave a thumbs up. Let's try for 800 likes. The goal tonight for this Smackdown post show. Leave a comment. Always helps us out. So make sure you guys leave a comment down in the comment section where you guys can become a member, which is also a great way to support the show. Another way to support is going to buy a new t-shirt. Unapologetically authentic. The new design by my guy Salrex. Now available at fourthwall.com. Link is down in the description. We've sold a decent number of these. You guys seem to love this design. So let's get this shirt on some more people, man. I'd love to see this out and about at some of these shows. It's a great design. So make sure you guys go and check them out. Fourthwall.com. New merchandise right here for the podcast on Off the Scripts. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below, and please turn on that bell for all notifications. Let's get into this show tonight, man. Smackdown started things off with Trick Williams' championship celebration. I love how the creative minds of WWE work with their champions. After every successful PLE or pay-per-view title defense, everybody needs a fucking championship celebration. I don't know why, but that's what WWE does. So, Trick is out there, and he's got the hometown pop being in South Carolina. His mother and father are outside, sitting front row. He gets in the ring, he tells the mic guy, the PA guy, to cut the music. Straight out of South Carolina, and don't know how to act, Trick Willie is back to Columbia, South Carolina. driving up Trick Notch Road. That's right. Cutting that right to my favorite restaurant, Kiki's Trick and Waffles. But look here, Yachty. You gotta understand, I would go there and I would get the special. So Yachty asks him what the special is. That special sauce. The sauce so good, the chicken wings so good, you gotta eat them while you're standing up. And old Trick Willie would get those wings, and don't forget, I'm a big guy, 6'5", 250 pounds. I would bite into that chicken wing, and the sauce would drip down all the way past my 3 chains, past these 8 abs, onto my 2 shoes. And I said, oh no. For this first day and forevermore, these shoes would be called the Lemon Pepper Steppers. Let's talk about it. Playing for the Gamecocks. I had a lot of good days. I also had some not so good days. But my family is here. My mama told me, boy, you are a king created by God Almighty. Never forget who you are or who's your trick. They can't break you. So to Columbia, South Carolina, to J.W. Keenan, to Kiki's Trick and Waffles, to the Gamecocks, to Mama, look at the star you've created. Out comes the Miz. Out comes the Miz. Oh my gosh, it's a homecoming. You even brought out Cody, the mascot. Last week it was the gingerbread man. Trick, your whole career is starting to look like rejected mascots from my daughter's birthday party. Is this WWE or Sesame Street? This is a legitimate line. What's next? Is Big Bird gonna come on out? And people say they have trouble taking me seriously. See, that's your problem right there, coming out here interrupting and disrespecting Trick Williams on Trick Williams' homecoming in Trick Williams' hometown of Columbia, South Carolina, with all Trick Williams' friends and family. Y'all got some nerve. That's the reason why you got beat up by all those mini houses. And that's the reason why y'all cursed. Miz went on to say he's not cursed. Kid Wilson then yells, wake up. You're clearly not understanding what the master is saying. So maybe I would speak to you in a language that you can understand. Some slam poetry by Kid Willie. Jack, this is legit dialogue. On Friday Night Smackdown. Mind you, on Friday Night Smackdown, in the opening segment, following last week's disaster, you wouldn't last a day on the streets where I grew up. Kit from Buckinghamshire, England, is lyrically going to mess you up. Trick and Yachty, well, you're 2 obnoxious folk. That's 2 egos the Miz will never stroke. This town is filled with bros and nasty jocks, only to be united by their love of their toxic Gamecocks. So, Lil Yachty had to obviously rap back to Kid Willie. On your tombstone, it will read Kid Wilson, better known for assisting the Miz. On your tombstone, it will read Kid Wilson, better known for assisting the Miz. I already completed showbiz. I really don't know who you is. But that tan, that too yellow, like the road on the whiz. Y'all ain't handsome as we is, and that's the reason y'all sick. It would be a shame if we show Columbia how to whoop that trick. I'm a diamond platinum artist. I've done it all. mouth goes shut. We're not bringing tiny balls back. There is no curse. I want to get out of this dumpster fire of a city with your chicken gamecock. If I lived here, I would volunteer to move to Tennessee. So get a referee out here right now in this ring because I'm going to whoop your ass in front of your mama. Bro, I would be floored. I would legitimately be floored if this promo wasn't spit out via chat GPT. Everything outside of maybe Lil Yachty, I could see that he maybe wrote those lyrics and those rhymes. But this is awful. Everything about this is awful. Trick Williams is such a fucking superstar in the making, and we got him mixing it up with fucking Gamecocks and The Miz and Gingerbread Men, and bro, this shit is awful. I would volunteer anybody to go to fucking Tennessee, as long as it's far away from this fucking hideous program. We kick things off with this non-title United States Championship match. Nothing about it was remotely interesting. We're still trying with The Miz in 2026, huh? One of the reasons why this show feels so lame and so same old shit is because we have characters like The Miz on the show who do nothing but these comedy skits. Nothing that The Miz does is anything that we're supposed to take seriously. So it's just another comedy gimmick, half-hearted comedy gimmick, geek on the show, and you're adding him to the pool of geeks that are already existing on this show. I'm genuinely curious to see how much of this shit they scale back when they go back to 2 hours. So Miz was in control here. Miz missed a big boot. Williams gets a jumping neck breaker on the Miz, followed by the shots in the corner with the... Now they're going to start using it. The big boots in the corner. Stomping a mud hole in the Miz with everybody chanting, "Whoop that trick." The whoop that stomps. Miz got out of the way of a big running boot by Trick Williams. Threw him around the barricades outside behind the referee's back. Kit Wilson takes out Trick Williams with a running elbow behind the referee's back. Miz finally connected with a rope-assisted sliding drop kick. And Miz is now talking trash to Lil Yachty on the outside. So we come back from a commercial break, and Trick Williams is fighting back. He gets the advantage. Big body slam by Trick, followed by a bookend for a near fall. Miz went for Williams' eyes and almost had a skull-crushing finale. He did not hit it, but he hit his big DDT on Trick for a 2 count. Miz went for his it kicks. He missed the last one like he usually does. Trick turned it into a pin attempt. Williams dropped Miz with a blackjack. Kit Wilson pulled at the foot of Trick Williams as Miz eventually hit a skull-crushing finale off this minor interference. Trick kicked out at a 2. Wilson again tried to distract the referee. Miz went to go grab a kendo stick underneath. I swear to God, I thought when he looked underneath the ring tonight that we were going to see another Minniehausen or Danhausen. We did not. Looks like Danhausen might be done with the Miz. The Miz went to grab a kendo stick. Lil Yachty comes on over, takes the kendo stick from the Miz. He blasted Kit Wilson with the kendo stick. Meanwhile, this distracted the Miz enough for Trick Williams to finish the Miz off with his trick shot. 1, 2, 3, and Trick Williams wins. The only thing about this that I actually enjoyed is how over Trick Williams was. It was legitimately like he won the world fucking title. Everybody in South Carolina was waving the white towels and chanting "Whoop that Trick." From that aspect, it was a very, very infectious environment. And I love when someone is that over. next superstar in the making, the next face of his company. Other than that, this was largely a waste of time. It did nothing for The Miz, it did nothing for Trick, and all it did was prove that WWE is just stuck in this fucking cheap, campy comedy vortex of bullshit. And after coming out of the Gingerbread Man and the Mini Housens, the way that they needed to start this show was not with more campy comedy, letting you know that this show basically is turned into fucking Sesame Street. Shoot. Backstage, Carmelo Hayes was interviewed about his match with Ricky Saints. I felt like this would have been a good match just based off both of their in-ring styles. And it's also nice to see Carmelo Hayes back on Friday Night Smackdown. So Kathy Kelly asked him what his mindset was going into this match with Ricky Saints. Melo wants to address the elephant in the room, he says. Obviously, he says he's been gone for a month, but he's been watching guys like Trick Williams and Sami Zayn make a mockery out of the United States Championship that he took so much pride in restoring to its prestige. He says he's been hearing the "We Want Melo" chants. When Melo shoots, he don't miss. And I'm shooting for that United States Championship. Let's talk about it. So clearly, we could be setting up for Trick and Melo at some point. When, where, I don't know. If it's not at SummerSlam, I don't know when we do it. Ricky Saints comes on in and interrupts. He wants to talk about the fact that he hasn't gotten a formal hello from Melo yet. Melo knows exactly who Ricky is. Saints went on to say that since Melo has been on vacation, the world is entirely different. There's new tenants in the building. Melo says that when it comes to the ring, he's the landlord and rent is due for Ricky Saints. Again, I would not be surprised if the dialogue written here was spit out by ChatGPT. None of it sounds genuine or organic. Ricky says that Melo could ask Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes about him. Melo says that this is the place, where sometimes it has a funny way of humbling people like Ricky Saints. It's humbled him. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but it's going to be one day. And that is what I call absolute. Ricky says he doesn't need Melo's advice. Melo needs an absolute lesson, and the best teacher is standing right in front of him, and his name is Ricky Saints. Melo then mumbled under his breath and said that Ricky is like looking at a dirty mirror. Nick Aldis. He's talking to Ray Phoenix. Apparently Ray Phoenix is very disgruntled about his current standing on the Friday Night Smackdown program. So much so that Penta tweeted about the Intercontinental title match that he and Ethan Page are having at Saturday Night's main event next Saturday. And Ray Phoenix says, I would also like an opportunity. We would love to see you get that opportunity, but apparently they don't know how to fucking book Ray Phoenix. He went from Guantanamo Bay to Alcatraz. One jail system to the other. Which has better accommodations, is what I want to know. Nick Aldis says he's been very impressed with Ray Phoenix's recent performances down in AAA. Phoenix tells Nick Aldis that he has his eyes on something big. What would that be, Ray Phoenix? They shake hands. Nick tells Ray Phoenix that he's looking forward to it. Sami Zayn appears. He says he's ashamed of himself. He did things during his match at Backlash with Trick Williams that was completely out of character for him. Sami feels like the pressure of everybody telling him that he needs to be different, the pressure of people treating him differently, it got the best of him. It was a true wake-up call, and Sami needs to go back to who he is. What exactly is that? Maybe he rejoins the bloodline. Did you guys see Jey Uso's Instagram story tonight? He basically said to Sami Zayn, no one's listening over there. No one's listening over there. are going to get back the original bloodline, including the honorary Uso. Or maybe it was just Jey Uso having a fine evening with his lady, having a couple of libations. And he was watching Smackdown and decided to Instagram story Sami Zayn. I don't know. Sami feels like the pressure of everybody telling him that he needs to be different, the pressure of people treating him differently, got the best of him. Sami tells Nick that he wants one more rematch for the United States title to do things the right way. Nick says, well, Sami, I appreciate that sentiment. You just had your rematch, and you know what comes next. You have to earn another shot at the United States title. Sami says Nick should consider his resume. Why is everyone here so quick to forget who Sami Zayn is? You know who hasn't forgot? My ride or die fans. And he points out to the venue. All Sami is looking to do is redeem himself for his fans. Nick says that everyone knows how good Sami Zayn is, but clearly Sami is dealing with some stuff. You should go focus on that, handle your problems, because right now all I'm getting from you, Sami, is entitlement. Phoenix comes back into the segment. He tries to calm Sami Zayn down after Nick Aldis walked away. Sami continues to blame everybody for his problems. Phoenix is yelling, tranquilo, tranquilo. He says that he doesn't even recognize Sami anymore. So he walks away. Sami starts yelling, hombre, hombre. Kathy Kelly. She was backstage with Paige and Brie Bella. How do they feel about the targets being on their back, getting bigger and bigger now that the women's tag team champions? I don't know, maybe we'd have to actually give a shit about Brie Bella and Paige to wonder and worry about the targets that are on their back. Brie says that they love how competitive the division is, but holding these titles, it feels like you're in a Shark Tank. They were dealing with Fatal Influence last week. They got Julia and Kiana James tonight. And then on Monday, on Raw, they're defending their titles against the Judgment Day. Paige says that it's taken them years to get these women's tag team titles, and they refuse to let them go that easy. Unfortunately, Nia Jackson's Lash legend show up. Nia says that they're actually rooting for Paige and Brie tonight. Paige and Brie says they're not buying it. Lash then says they're going to get their women's tag team titles back at Saturday night's main event. You know, I was hoping that that show would actually be good. But clearly it's not. When Nia was going to say something, she got cut off by Brie Bella's entrance music, and they walk out to the ring to defend their titles against Julia and Kiana James. This was all about Julia and Kiana James. It looks like we may be headed towards Splitsville between these the match with Rampage 1, 2, 3. Wow. Breathtaking stuff here, chat. Breathtaking. I mean, if you missed this match, man, you missed one hell of a classic. 6 stars tomorrow morning in the Observer. Tiffany Stratton was interviewed about how the women's division had strong alliances all around and where she fits in. All of a sudden you see Julia and Kiana James bickering in the background about their loss. But like I said, we're headed towards Splitsville. Can't come soon enough. Tiffany Stratton noted that she was doing well enough. Chelsea Green interrupted her. Green tried to get Stratton to be on her team, and once again got largely ignored. Cody Rhodes, Gunther, and Royce Keys. We should have gotten Gunther signing the contract, but once again, he waffled and wasted time. He was very indecisive about what he wanted to do. He knew if he put his name to paper that he may be banished to Smackdown for God knows how long. So Cody Rhodes comes out, does his typical what do you want to talk about. I have all the formal ingredients for a contract signing. That's what we got here. A contract for Gunther to come to Smackdown. A contract for a WWE Championship match at Clash in Italy. And that's what we're going to do, folks. Right here, right now. Well, at least this was a better produced contract signing than the one we got on Dynamite, where we had to see Darby Allin wrestle Konosuke Takeshita for 20 minutes. And then after the match was over, he was breathing so heavily he couldn't even fucking function correctly, while spitting up blood and a mixture of fucking saliva at the same time. While the stagehands brought in the contract signing, table and chairs and contract itself, legitimately after the match was over, while we were live on television. Gunther comes on out. Hey, Cody, do you know how much time and work it took to set up the deal? Do you know how much strategic planning, how much foresight, how much negotiation went into all this? How long, Gunther? How long did it take, Big Gunther? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe? This guy's actually speaking as if it took 6 months to make this deal happen. I mean, we're talking the roster transfer of the best wrestler in the WWE, and still, you find a way to make it all about yourself, just like a typical American. I mean, and I shouldn't be surprised, I see it on your neck